The latest 2024 doomsday-themed disaster movie, a survival thriller, is coming. Cassie is video chatting with her boyfriend when she notices something odd. The flashes of lightning behind him seem far too frequent. Before she can react, the video abruptly cuts out due to a sudden signal loss. Out on a nighttime boat excursion, Cassie quickly alerts her family. Her father hears unusual sounds from the sea, and when he checks over the side, he sees a massive group of whales swimming urgently toward land. He tries to reassure everyone, speculating that a storm might be coming and the whales are disoriented by changes in the Earth's magnetic field. None of them realize, however, that inside the cabin, the compass is spinning wildly out of control. In the next moment, one of the whales crashes into the boat's hull, damaging the engine and leaving them stranded without a working signal. They are fortunate to be near a busy shipping lane, but just as they begin to feel hopeful, the radar detects something rapidly approaching. Then they hear a loud, rumbling noise growing closer. Rushing back to the deck, they witness a flaming rock crash into the sea. Before they can even process what's happening, a larger, faster meteor plummets into the water nearby. Though Tom has no idea what's going on, he tries frantically to start the yacht to get them out of there. Despite his efforts, the engine refuses to respond. Within moments, another massive meteor hurtles toward them. By a stroke of luck, it only grazes the boat, and they hurry back inside to take shelter. As more meteors rain down, the sea becomes a churning, chaotic mess. They were so small that they could only wear life jackets and resign themselves to the bumps. It wasn't until 2 days later that the sea completely calmed down, but at that time the scene outside was even more disorienting. In just 2 days, a huge amount of seawater had disappeared without a trace. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but an endless dry seabed, and the only proof that they were not hallucinating was the fish and shrimp on the deck. To make matters worse, their supplies of food and water will only last a few days. Seeing this, Ben, the youngest son, quickly let the balloon fly high up so that if anyone passed by, they would be able to spot them first. Tom also kept trying to call for help on the radio, and unexpectedly received a response soon after. The other side claims that the various natural disasters were triggered by a magnetic pole reversal, and now, a marine surveyor was deep-sea exploring when the disaster struck. He reports that not all communication systems are down. Based on current information, the Earth's magnetic field may reverse again in 7 days, which will cause seawater to surge back from wherever it was displaced. He advises them to get to higher ground if possible to avoid the impending danger. However, those stranded on the low seabed have nowhere to escape and quickly ask now if they can take shelter with him. This time, though, now doesn't respond. Julia senses his hesitation and reassures him, explaining that she's a doctor and can provide medical assistance if needed, promising she won't be a burden. After some deliberation, now finally shares his coordinates. The location is about 230 kilometers away, and even if they push forward at full speed, it will take 5 days to reach on foot. Time is critical, and the group immediately begins packing. Just as they're about to set off, Tom notices a man and a dog approaching from a distance. Seeing the man staggering, Tom rushes over with his water bottle, cheerfully introducing himself as he walks. But the man shows no reaction, staring warily at the water bottle in Tom's hand. Tom, assuming the man is simply parched from dehydration, doesn't notice the long knife the man is holding. The man takes the water bottle, drinks deeply, then suddenly punches Tom to the ground and drives the knife straight through him, killing him instantly. He shows no intention of sparing Julia either and immediately chases after her, slashing her shoulder with the knife. Julia retreats into the house, locks the door, and instructs the children to hide in the storage cabinet. She hands them a flare gun, telling them to fire it if they're discovered. Finally, she grabs a knife and hides in the bathroom. The man breaks through the door and ransacks the house. Julia stays silent, fearing any noise might give her away, but in the confined space, he quickly finds the bathroom, only to see it empty. She had slipped through a broken opening and was now hiding in a blind spot below, out of his sight. But just as the man, perplexed, resumes his search, Julia accidentally stumbles upon the man's dog waiting outside. Its barking alerts him immediately. The dog, however, lunges at her, and Julia, in a desperate move, stabs it to death. When the man comes out, he only finds his dead dog lying on the ground. Meanwhile, Julia has circled around and climbed back onto the yacht. She can't abandon the supplies or the children here. Just as she's about to sneak the children away, the man suddenly appears, knocking her down and pinning her, preparing to strangle her to death. Seeing this, Cassie, hiding nearby, can't stay silent any longer. She lifts the cabinet lid, aims the flare gun, and fires, sending the man flying in an eruption of sparks that instantly ignites the interior of the house. Julia grabs the supplies and escapes just as the yacht explodes behind her. Ben sobs in guilt, thinking his balloon was what attracted the man. Julia, though heartbroken, holds back her grief to comfort her son, knowing they have a long, arduous journey ahead. Unbeknownst to them, the man had also escaped the yacht before it exploded. With time pressing, they continue moving toward Now's location without delay, stopping only when they come across the wreckage of a crashed plane in the distance. Exhausted, the group decides to rest there before moving on. Late at night, Cassie wakes up and slips out to use the bathroom, unaware that someone is creeping up behind her. Just as she's about to be attacked, Julia leaps out of the shadows and stabs the man repeatedly, ensuring he's truly dead before stopping. She only calms down when her daughter hugs her from behind, grounding her. Earlier, while scanning the horizon, Julia had spotted him through her binoculars but kept it to herself to avoid alarming the children. With her vengeance fulfilled, Julia now has just one wish: to get the children safely to their destination. As they prepare to leave, the group is horrified to find the man's corpse has been savaged overnight, as if something had feasted one, indicating a threat even more dangerous than him. Julia hurries them to leave immediately. Under the blazing sun, they soon finish their last bottle of water. Ben, overcome with thirst, plunges his face into a puddle to drink, but Julia stops him, warning that seawater will only dehydrate him further and is teeming with harmful bacteria. Julia knows they can't go on like this. A short walk later, she spots a pile of seats washed ashore. They gather the seats and assemble a makeshift shelter to shield them from the sun, enduring until sunset. As dusk falls, Julia hears a sound in the distance. She steps outside to investigate and finally catches a glimpse of the monstrous creature responsible for the recent attacks. She rushes back to wake the still sleeping children, leading them in a desperate sprint for escape. The creature gives chase, faster than them, and the flat plains leave nowhere to hide. Cresting a hill, they spot a silent freighter in the distance and race toward it. The workers on the freighter eye them warily but soon see the creature behind them and, panicking, retreat into a container, ignoring the group's pleas for help. Julia and the children have no choice but to climb higher to evade the creatures, which turn out to be massive crab-like monsters. One of the creatures bites Julia's calf, while others swarm into the container where the workers are hiding. The workers, out of bullets, are soon devoured, giving Julia's group a narrow escape. Julia listens to the horrifying sounds of the creatures feeding while she bandages her wound. When the crabs finally disperse, she scavenges weapons and food left behind by the workers. She discovers a radio and immediately contacts Now.
We found a freighter and containers. We got attacked by something.
After listening, Now explained that this group of amputee creatures live in the crevices of the rock walls in the depths of the ocean. The seawater did not wash them away, but it took away their food, so they went crazy out of hunger and hunted everything they could see. Now also shares shocking news: the ocean's backflow is happening sooner than expected. They must reach him immediately, but Julia realizes she lost the map during their escape, and although they're close to Now's location, they have no idea which direction to go. Now fires a flare to guide them, and they set off. Soon they spot the deep-sea probe in the distance, but the path forces them through a rocky area teeming with the crab creatures. They tread cautiously to avoid making noise. Just as they're about to cross safely, a rockslide suddenly begins, and debris tumbles down. Julia shoves the children to safety but becomes trapped herself. The sound of scuttling fills the air. She realizes the crabs have been disturbed. Outside, Cassie quickly pulls her reluctant brother along, determined to find an adult to help save their mother. When they reach Now, they realize he's gravely injured, barely able to survive, let alone assist anyone else. Cassie instantly decides to run back. By now, Julia is fighting off the swarm of crabs, but her ammunition is quickly running out. At the last moment, Cassie returns in time to pull her mother to safety. The startled crabs, however, continue their relentless pursuit. Ben quickly pulled out his pistol for cover. In the panic, the few people had no time to care about the unconscious Now. The next second, He was swallowed up by the approaching crab swarm, and they themselves were completely surrounded by the creatures. The few people could only quickly hide inside the detector to escape, but the detector couldn't hold out for long, and at that moment, they saw an even more terrifying scene. They saw that the disappeared seawater had actually reversed and flowed back. Julia hurriedly told the children to go back to their seats and fasten their seatbelts. The next second, 100-meter-high waves swept over them. Helpless, they could only pray in their hearts. After an unknown period of time, the few people finally woke up. Fortunately, the probe successfully withstood the huge pressure, but Julia was not excited. Instead, she quickly checked the situation outside the window. If they were at the bottom of the sea, they would still be trapped. Fortunately, this time, the few people were finally swept back to land. But looking at the devastated city before her, Julia realized that they were about to face a horror even more terrifying than the disaster itself.